We are on Deuteronomy 2. Moses is still remembering. He does this in 2 and 3. 2, he remembers the desert years and the march to Canaan. And 3, the march from Canaan to the appointment of Joshua. So, chapter 2, 1 through 7. Then we turned and journeyed into the wilderness of the way of the Red Sea, as the Lord spoke to me. And we skirted Mount Seir for many days. And the Lord spoke to me, saying, You have skirted this mountain long enough, turn northward, and command the people, saying, You are about to pass through the territory of your brethren, the descendants of Esau, who live in Seir, or Seir, I don't know. And they will be afraid of you. Therefore watch yourselves closely. Do not meddle with them, for I will not give you any of their land. No, not so much as one footstep, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau as a possession. You shall buy food from them with money that you may eat. You shall also buy water from them with money that you may drink. For the Lord your God has blessed you in all the work of your hand. He knows you're trudging through this great wilderness these 40 years. The Lord your God has been with you, and you have lacked nothing. Okay, so here again, this is the last 2 months of Moses' life, or the last month or so. And he's going over, reviewing all this. Mainly for the people that were kids when this all happened, took place, a lot of these things. Because everybody 20 years old and older than that has all died off, except Joshua and Caleb and Moses himself. So they did have a problem as they was coming up there. There was, who is Esau? We talked about Esau. It says, You're about to pass through the territory of the brethren of the descendants of Esau. Remember who Esau was? Jacob's brother. He's the one who stole the birthright from him. Well, God still blessed him. Esau gave him this area, this Mount Seir. That was over 400 years ago, before they went to Egypt even. Okay? So, and it's considered there an Edomite. Okay? Edom was a nickname for Esau, if you want to say it that way, or another name. And we don't hear a whole lot about the Edomites, except the most famous one was Herod the Great. Okay? Now that was the Herod that was ruling when Jesus was born. He was the one that was having the kids killed. Okay?
He's the one that had all the boys killed?
He was. There was 2 years and under.
Yeah.
So that was the one, he was an Edomite. Okay? Tells them don't mess with them, don't meddle with them, don't do anything. But you can buy food from them. You can buy water. Now, when they first came by there, okay, 40 years before, Moses talked to them about going through their land, and the king then said, No, you're not going to do that. So they kind of ran them off, and they went around the other way. Well, this time, they're not even going to try to go through their land. They're going to go right by it, okay, right up the road. Kind of like there at our house at 177th Street is the dividing line. The middle of the road is Owasso city limits. So if you're on the west side of it, you're in Owasso. If you're on the east side of it, you're in the county, the Rogers County. So makes a difference on stuff like that. But that's what they do. And they told them that you could go and buy food from them. You can buy water from them. Now, God was still providing them for manna and still providing water for them. But if they wanted something else, they could go and buy from it. That's what he's telling them. And then, and this was a great company. Like I said, over 600,000. When we went through numbers, there was over 600,000 fighting men. Okay? So this huge army coming through here, and they could have easily taken what they wanted. But God told them don't do that. And sometimes it says here, how we treat those weaker than ourselves is always a good measure of our character. If you're always, picking on somebody, the bully, picking on somebody, then, a lot of people don't like that. Okay, Brother Epson, 8 through 15.
And when we pass beyond the brethren, the descendants of Esau, who Seir, away from the road of the plain, away from Elath, and he's on Gibber.
Close enough. Close
We
enough.
turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab. Then the Lord said to me, do not harass Moab, nor contend with them in battle. For I will not give you their land as a possession, because I gave it to to the descendants of Lot as a possession. And Eman had dwelt there in times past, a people as great, as numerous, and tall as Anakim. They were also regarded as giants like the Ammonites, and the Moabites called Eman, and the Horites formerly dwelt in Seir. But the descendants of Esau possessed them and destroyed them from before them, and dwelt in their place, just as Israel did to the land of their possession, and the Lord gave them. Now rise, cross over the valley of Zir, so we can cross over the valley of Zir. And the time will come to you from Kadesh Barnea until we cross over the valley of Zir. Was 38 years until the generation of men of war was consumed from the midst of the camp, just as the Lord had sworn to them. For indeed the hand of the Lord was against them to destroy them from the midst of the camp until they were consumed.
Okay. So not only was they not to mess with the Edomites, they're not to mess with the Moabites. And the Moabites is because of Lot. Okay? Now who was Lot? Abraham's cousin, nephew, I think it was. Something like that. He was related to it. He took Lot with him, Abram did, when he went and departed out of that land. And Lot took the south part. He took Sodom and Gomorrah, that area down by there, remember? Now it talks about them as being an evil people, but still yet, because of Lot, he didn't want them to mess with them. Now we get a little bit of history here, okay? It's a little different than what we normally did. This, from the parentheses there, it says that Em dwelt there in past, okay? In the history, the Ems. Now who's the Ems? It's the first time I've ever even recognized that when I read this story. Well, they're like the Anakim. Who's the Anakim? They're the giants. They're the big people. They're the Goliaths, if you want to talk about it at that time. So these were tall people, big people, great people. They were regarded as giants like the Anakim, but the Moabites, they called them the Em. The Horites formerly dwelt in Seir. Okay, before them, the Horites were there, but the Em run them out. Then the descendants of Esau dispossessed them and got them out of there. So we get a little history lesson of who was where, when, and what, kind of. And before Israel come in, and they weren't going to displace them. Jesus, Moses told them, don't do that. God told him, don't mess with them again. But like he said before, it's time you pass this mountain one too many times. Let's go across this valley and get ready to go up to Jordan, where you're going to cross over and go into the promised land. There was 38 years that they passed by them. There was another large group of people. You go to the next page. The Rephaim. They were a large group of warlike people who populated Canaan before the Israelites. Now, some commentaries that I read said that the word giants was kind of mistranslated. It could be, but it meant fearsome. Okay, they were a fearsome warrior race. So either way, whether it's one or the other, they were, forced to be dealt with. Said the Moabites called them Emim, and the Ammonites different one. They called them Zazunamin. Try that 10 times. That'd be hard to say. So 38 years, in these few verses, 38 years passed. Okay, Iris, 16 through 23 there.
So it was when all the men of war had finally perished from among the people that the Lord spoke to me, saying, This day you are to cross over at Ar, the boundary of Moab. And when you come near the people of Ammon, do not harass them or meddle with them, for I will not give you any of the land of the people of Ammon as a possession, because I have given it to the descendants of Lot as a possession.
Okay, go ahead and read. I left that space in. I don't know why.
Huh?
Go ahead. Down below it, there's some more. I just didn't pull it up. I don't know why I did.
That was also regarded as a land of giants. Giants formerly dwelt there, but the Ammonites called them Zimim, a people as great and numerous and tall as the Anakim. But the Lord destroyed them before them, and they dispossessed them and dwelt in their place, just as he had done for the descendants of Esau, who dwelt in Seir. When he destroyed the Horites from before them, they dispossessed them and dwelt in their place, even to this day. And the Avim, who dwelt in villages as far as Gaza, who came from Captor, destroyed them and dwelt in their place.
Okay.
Isn't that what's on TV? Is that Gaza?
Gaza, that's right. That's where it is. It's that western part of Israel, just that little border through there, and I can't remember how far they said it was. It's, I don't know, 10 miles or less than 10 miles, and just a few miles wide. Yeah, just about 4 miles wide. What'd you say, Bertha?
That Gaza Strip?
Yeah, it's a Gaza Strip. Now, it's in that area. We don't know exactly where it was. But that's what it's saying, that this Avon, they dwelt in the villages all the way over to Gaza. So from the bottom where we're at, over against Jordan, okay, where they're getting ready to cross over, all the way to Gaza, there were some, not a lot of people, but there were these people that called the Avon, or another word, the Captorium. And the Captorium, that is basically the Philistines, where we get the Philistines from. Because the Philistines, they came from somewhere else too. They came from a place called Captor. That's where they came. And a lot of people believe that that's over close maybe to Cyprus or Crete or somewhere, you know, further west than them, islands or something like that. We don't know for sure. But just tells you that it's old. So, you know, the people that's calling for all this, it's kind of like, who was the original people here? Well, we don't know, basically. There was them, then there was them, and then there was them, and then there was Israel, and Israel had it for a long time, and then they went to Egypt, and then they came back, and then they had it for, 500-600 years, and then they got taken into Syria. So it's gone back and forth. People just don't get it that, it's not really any one people's area. Israel has had it the longest, and God gave it to them, and they conquered it, and they've had it there for a long time, because people have lived, Jewish people have lived in Israel since almost the very beginning, because we see even in Jeremiah's days, in those days, he didn't take, when Cyrus and Belshazzar, when they took those people over, and took all the people out of Jerusalem and all the Jews over, he didn't take everybody. He left some of the poor people, he left some of the old people, and he left some there because he was looking for slaves, okay? Those people that can't work for me, they're going to die anyway. Well, you know, they still lived. And then they came back and they took a few more, but they still left some more people. So when they came back, there were people there. Now, it may not have been the very same, okay, I mean, as far as it was fathers and mothers and sisters, they've, you know, gone on, but it's the kids that have lived there now, so. Okay, and just like, with Ammon, the Edomites and the Moabites, they were not to mess with them, okay, not to bother them, because here again, they were descendants of Lot, okay, from that area, so. Okay, Bertha, 24 through 37.
Rise, take your journey, and cross over the river Aaron. Look, I have given into you the hand of Sihon and Arnite, king of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to possess it, and engage him in battle. This day I will begin to put the dread and fear of you upon the nations under the whole of heaven. Who shall hear the report of you, and shall tremble, and be in anguish because of you? And I sent messengers from the wilderness of Kedar to Sion, king of Heshbon, with words of peace, saying, let me pass through your land. I will keep strictly to the road, and I will turn neither to the right nor the left. You shall sail the road, you shall see me. You should sell me food for money, that I may eat and give water for money, that I may drink. Only let me pass through on foot, just as the descendants of Ishu, who dwell in Syria and Moabite, who dwell in not for me, or until I cross the Jordan to the land which the Lord our God is giving us. But Sihon, king of Heshbon would not let us pass through but Sihon, king of Heshbon would not let us pass through for thee. Lord your God hardened his spirit and made his heart obstinate, that he might deliver him into your hand. And as it is this day, and the Lord said to me, see, I have begun to give Sihon his land over to you. Begin to possess it, that you may inherit his land. Then Sihon, all of his people, came out against us to fight at Joseph, and the Lord our God delivered him over to us. So we defeated him, his son, and all his people. We took all his cities at that time, and we utterly destroyed the men, women, and little ones of every city. We left none remaining. We looked only to the livestock as plunder for ourselves, which is spoil of cities which we took from Arnon, which is on the banks of the river Arnon, and from the city that is in the Rabbit ravine, as far as Gilead, there was not one city too strong for us, and the Lord our God delivered all to us. Only you did not go near the land of the people of Ammon, anywhere along the river Jabbok, or to the cities of mountains, or wherever the Lord our God has forbidden us to go.
Okay.
Boy, those names are something.
Yep, there's a lot of names in there. And it's places, some places where they're at. The river of Arnon runs kind of east-west. It's kind of a area there, and then there was another area that they took, and we'll see it in chapter 3, the next one. That's kind of the area that Gad and Manasseh and the people that are on the west side or on the east side of the river, that's where the area that they're going to get. It's a lot of plains. It's good for farming, good for, and we'll read that in just a minute. I don't get too far ahead of us, but that's kind of outlining it. And if you go back, I know you may not have your maps with you tonight, but if you do, go back and look at that, and you can see those rivers that kind of go between up in the north. It's close to the Lake Tiberias on the Jordan, where it goes down to the Dead Sea. That area is where we're talking about. Moab and the Ammonites and all those people, they were in that area. Sihon was the king that wouldn't let them pass through. We talked about that a little bit more, and Israel fought a battle with them in Numbers 21. And that's the one that God's just reminding them, hey, God's already provided for us. He told us to go out there and wipe them out, and we did. And He's going to deliver them unto their hand. He's trying to build them up, getting ready to go to fight, okay? Because now they're getting ready to go across to the promised land. Said at the very last there, it says, there was not one city too strong for us. It's actually, there was not one city too high for us. The high walls of the Canaanite cities had intimidated Israel 38 years before. But walking by faith, they were now nothing before the Lord. Because just look at Jericho, one of the first cities they take, had walls that was tall, and they didn't even have to do anything. They just walked around it. God just said, walk around it, and then when the trumpet sounds, the walls are going to fall down, and they did. Okay, moving on to chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. Next we turned and went up along the road toward Bashan, and Og, king of Bashan, with his whole army marched out to meet us in battle at Edrei. The Lord said to me, do not be afraid of him, for I have delivered him into your hands, along with his whole army and his land. Do to him what you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon. Okay, God told them, don't mess with certain these people, but when the people came and started messing with them, then God kind of said, okay, you can take care of yourself. You got to be able to defend yourself. So as Israel continued closer to the promised land, moving westward towards the Jordan River, they passed through the kingdom of Bashan, which the king of that was Og, and we'll read it here in just a few minutes, that Og was one of the last of the giants that we have heard about here in chapter 2. Okay, Brother Epstein?
Go ahead, sis.
Yeah, that's okay. And I can read it if you guys want, because it's a lot of reading in these scriptures. You got it?
You want me to read this?
If you want, yeah. 3 through 11.
So the Lord our God also gave unto our hands Og, king of Bashan, and all his army. We struck them down, leaving no survivors. At that time we took all his cities. There was not one of the 60 cities that we did not take from them. The whole region of Argob, Og's kingdom in Basin, all these cities were fortified with high walls and with gates and bars, and there were also a great many unwalled villages. We completely destroyed them, as we had done with Sihon, king of Heshbon, destroying every city, men, women, and children. But all the livestock and the plunder from their cities we carried off for ourselves. So at that time we took from these 2 kings of the Amorites the territory east of the Jordan, from the Arnon Gorge as far as Mount Hermon. Hermon is called Sirion by the Sidonians,
So they went through and just like they destroyed them, huh?
I said, how big is that bid?
9 cubits. A cubit is from there to there, about 18 inches, so a foot and a half. So, foot and a half times 9, so it's 9 and a half, so 13 feet almost.
No, it says
14,
14.
yeah. So, it says down here at the bottom, 14 foot by 6 foot. Now, some of them, another commentary said that word bed, because they didn't live there where he was at, he was fighting, but he died there, so they're saying that was his casket. That's what they said. Think of a casket that is that long. It's a big old dude. 4 feet wide. I mean, you know, it's about that wide. I mean, 6 feet wide, as far as my arms, and then 14 foot long. He was a tall guy. And there it says there, some people actually believe it is burial sarcophagus. But he was the last of the Rephaims that they knew of. Okay, a little later on we find out that the quote giants were still alive because Goliath and his brothers were still living there. And not right there in that area. They were living more in, we think, over in the Gaza area. We don't know for sure. So all that territory, that's a long ways from Arnon, which is down by the Dead Sea, I mean the river that flows into that Jordan that goes down the Dead Sea, up to Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon's a very northern part. Okay, if you look on a map today, that's actually in Jordan, or they call Jordan. It's the very tip of it. That's also where, on Mount Hermon, that Jesus took his disciples on one of the journeys that they had up there. Top of that mountain is almost 9,000 feet tall, a little bit over 9,000 feet, and it contains snow most of the year. You don't think of that big mountains being there in Jerusalem, in Israel, do you? But it is. It's on that very northern part of Israel, and it's one of the mountain ranges that divides that up, okay? And it's not just like one big mountain, kind of like Pikes Peak or something like that. It's a range of mountains. So you have a peak here, a peak here, and a peak here, and a
Wow.
peak here, a peak here. So,
That would be pretty though.
it is pretty. We saw it from, when we was on the lake, Gennesaret, or Galilee, Lake of Galilee, Sea
You
of
don't see
Galilee.
many mountains like
We
that.
see it looking up north, and they told us that's what it was. Verse 12, start 12 and 17 there, Bertha.
Other land that we took over at the time, I gave the
Reubenites.
and
Gadites.
Gadites, the territory north of Aurora by Aaron Gorge, including half the hill country of Gilead, together with his towns, the rest of the Gilead, and also all the Bashan, the kingdom of Og, I gave to the half tribe of
Manasseh.
Well, okay, that close. The whole region of Argob in Bashan used to be known as the land of the
Rephites. Yeah, that goes back to the guy up top. He was the last of one of those, so that was their area. Okay?
And Jer, a descendant of Manah something, lived in the whole region of Arab as far as the border of the Yasharites and the Maxites. It was named after him so that this day, Yeshiva called her Jar on the right page.
Yeah.
Jar, and I gave Gilead to Machar, but to the Reubenites and to the Gadites I gave the territory extending from Gilead down to the Iron Gorge, and the middle of the gorge being the border, and out of the Jabbok River, which which is the border of Ammonites, its western border was the Jordan and the Arba, from Kerenneth to see, the Arba, that is the Dead Sea, below the slopes of Pisa.
So that's where he's saying these lands that was conquered, he gave them to the tribe of Reuben and the tribe of Gad and the half tribe of Manasseh. Remember, they were in that, when they conquered that land, they went, their leaders went and talked to Moses and asked them if they could stay in this area and not cross over the river, because it tells a little bit, well, in the next scriptures, they were ranchers, basically. They took care of cattle, livestock, and this was good grazing land for them. Over on the west side, it was pretty much desert, because you're coming down off, like I said, in that river valley, in that big river valley in there, off the mountains and stuff's coming off. It was good for it. So God said, Moses said, well, I don't know, let me go talk to God. And God told him that sounds okay if they'll do one thing. That one thing was they got to go and fight. They got to help their brothers capture and get the land that they need. And then once they're finished, they can come back. They said, okay, we'll build cities, we'll build towns here, and our people will stay here, our children and family will stay here, and we'll go fight. So that's just, it's reminding them of what happened in this particular time. So these 2.5 tribes decided that this land on the east side of the Jordan was good enough for them, and the Lord allowed it, if they would fulfill the obligations mentioned in verses 18 and 20. So that's what I'm going to read. I commanded you at the time, the Lord your God has given you this land to take possession of it, but all your able-bodied men, armed for battle, must cross over ahead of the other Israelites. However, your wives, your livestock, and your children, I know you have much livestock, may stay in the towns I have given you until the Lord gives you rest to your fellow Israelites, as he has to you. And they too have taken over the land that the Lord your God is giving them across the Jordan. After that, each of you may go back to the possession I have given you. So, this was the condition that they could get that land if they would go and help their brethren fight and win their battles. And then after that, they would come back. So I don't know how long that took. It took a while. So they were out with them, fighting with them. Okay, 21, 22, Iris.
At that time I commanded Joshua, you have seen with your own eyes all that the Lord your God has done to these 2 kings. The Lord will do the same to all the kingdoms over there where you are going. Do not be afraid of them. The Lord your God himself will fight for you.
Okay. So,
Before we're going over this, you think about Harry again going over the same thing again. But I was just thinking, the oldest person there besides Joshua and Moses and Caleb was 59 years old.
right. Right.
And some of them had been born, some of them were maybe in their teens, and some of them had endured, they endured some things, but some of these battles that he's reminiscing to
Yeah,
them.
it's when they were kids. They didn't participate in it because they wasn't of a fighting age at that time. So he's just reminding them, telling them once again of what God has already done for them, building them up so they can go over. Because Moses is not going to get to go over. We'll see that here at the end of this chapter. We'll see the wording. And I'll go ahead and read the next one. It's a long one. At that time I pleaded with the Lord, Sovereign Lord, you have begun to show to your servant your greatness and your strong hand. For what God is there in heaven or on earth who can do the deeds and mighty works you do? Let me go over and see the good land beyond the Jordan, that fine hill country in Lebanon. But because of you, the Lord was angry with me and would not listen to me. That is enough, the Lord said. Do not speak to me any more about this matter. Go up to the top of Pisgah and look west and north and south and east. Look at the land with your own eyes, since you are not going to cross this Jordan. But commission Joshua and encourage and strengthen him, for he will lead this people across and will cause them to inherit the land that you will see. So we stayed in the valley near Beth Peor. So we can see that there's a little bit more of the story of God talking, Moses talking to God about, he really wanted to go over. Okay, he really wanted to go over. It's kind of like winning the football game, you know, right at the last minute, and you have to go inside, you get hurt, and you have to go inside, and you can't see the win, you know, when the last time go out, or something like that. And he pleaded with him, you know, back in the other, when he hit the rock, we didn't hear all about this. That he, you know, God, he just said God, because God did it. Now, God told him to speak to the rock. God got mad at the people because they were the ones causing it. That's why he's saying here, you made me do this. You made me go to this and, you know, hit the rock. So he's kind of blaming them. But it was, he got short with the people. He'd been with them 40 years. And it's just like, good night, stupid people. You know? Yeah, after 40 years, you're still not listening to me, and just whacks it good. Well, God didn't want that. He didn't want that. He just wanted it to be brought out, the water brought out just by speaking. So God tells him, he said, don't talk to me about that. I've already decided. You can go up the top of this mountain and you can look out east, west, north, and south, and you can look at all the land that they're going to get. You're not going to be part of it. Okay? Get over it. That's what he's telling them. I'm sorry, you did it. Okay? They may have made you do it, but you did it. And you're the one that's going to do that. Said Moses, we can appreciate what a painful thing this was for Moses. He lived the first 40 years of his life as a prince, confident in his own ability. He spent the next 40 years of his life having confidence demolished as he tended his sheep, his father-in-law's sheep. And then he spent the next 40 years of his life being used of God to do what he was called to do. So 80 years was his training time. You know?
A long time to be disappointed.
Well, he still made it. He did what God wanted him to do. He is still in the faithful hall. But it still shows us too that after that time, we're still fighting that old flesh. Because even then, you know, it's to him, yeah, not getting over to the promised land is a big deal, but to God, it wasn't. It's like, okay, you led him up to this point. You tell Joshua to go and do it. You go come be with me. And that's what he did. Moses went up at the end of Deuteronomy, we'll see, Moses went up to the top of the mount, looked around, and he died. And I'll not spoil a bunch of spoilers, but we'll get there at the end of Deuteronomy here about 29 weeks or so.
Gee, this makes me think of nowadays, you two will be judged stronger than we did, see?
Yeah.
Leaders.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was training 80 years to get ready to do his business. Then 40 years doing his business. Where we're at 80 and we think, oh, I can't do anything else. Or even now, when we retire at 65, well, I'm not going to work anymore. Well, I'm working more now than I think I was when I was working. I'm just not getting paid for it.
That's what they always say, too.
Don't you know, Moses had, after all they done to Moses, and you know, he pled their case.
Right, many times.
Remember when God was going to destroy them, and Moses said no, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought, and then here we find no place in the scripture anybody standing with Moses.
Right.
And then he also tells tells, God tells, it's almost like putting, pouring hot water on already, you know, so, when he said, now, not only is Joshua gonna be the leader, I want you to encourage him, I want you to strengthen him, and, wow.
That's the law. I mean, that's because it was under the law, they wasn't under the grace.
I love that right there where it said it's right for the teacher and leader. Is it right for the teacher and
Yeah.
leaders to be judged by a standard? James 3:1. Though it is it unrighteous to hold teachers and leaders to a perfect standard,
Right.
it is true that people's conduct was worse than Moses. But it's your right.
We get our pride hurt a lot because we get things built up in our mind that we should be, you know, whatever. But God said, no, that's not what I want for you. You're not gonna get to do that.
No, that's.
Yeah, it's not us. So he gets, and we'll be going out. Okay, this very last, but command Moses, Joshua, and encourage him, strengthen him. It was probably easy for Moses to have an attitude here. Yeah, well, I'm not going to the promised land. I'm not going to knock myself out training my replacement. How many have we heard that before? I have been in situations where I have to hire somebody new, and the people that I'm hiring is going to get more pay than I'm making.
That bothers you, of course.
It bothers you, but it's like,
That's not
they
fair.
told me to do this, so I gotta do it.
And all the years you put in, they're just starting.
Yeah, it happens, I know there's several others that have, during this time of, the COVID, I know they're trying to get nurses left and right, and they're paying them $20,000 bonuses and things like that. The other nurses was staying there working and they didn't get nothing. They didn't get no $20,000 bonus, I'm sure. So, it's just one of those things, we have to live with what comes our way. We may not like it, yeah, you can do something about it if you want to, but here, God told us, no, you can't do anything about it.
One thing I
It
like
ain't gonna
about
happen.
office manager by myself is I had to hire drivers, but I didn't have to worry about their pay versus mine.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was in the office by myself, so I didn't have to see that kind of stuff, but I had to hire the drivers. I
Yeah.
paid them too.
Yeah. All right, I appreciate everybody coming out. Well,
It was a good lesson, thank you.
thank you. We'll pick her up, Brother Everson will have it next week.